This is Frank Fantini, and we're here with John Connelly, who is the CEO of Interblock, a very interesting emerging company in an emerging space in the gaming industry, which is electronic tables, or ETGs, as they're almost universally being called now. The first thing I've got to say, however, is our presence at G2E is a very expensive one for us. And we are fortunate to have a number of companies who are supporting us, and Interblock is one of them, who sponsors our news section. If you go to our website at www.fantiniresearch.com, you will see that we have posted every news release from every company involved in G2E, and that section is sponsored by Interblock. So John, thanks very much for that support.
Our pleasure.
A year ago when we met, you were a relatively new CEO in Interblock. Now you're a seasoned veteran. What's been accomplished at Interblock in the past year, and where do you go from here?
That's a great question. You know, the past year has been definitely one, as you pointed out, trying to build out the foundation of a 25-year-old private company that was founded by Mr. Pachechnik. So when you take anything that's been around for 25 years and been private to try to expand it and make it a global organization, I think one of the first things we had to do was to make sure the infrastructure was in place so we could support, as you pointed out, the growth of the ETG sector in gaming right now. And the growth rates are astonishing globally across all companies and operators. So I think we were very successful. The team worked very hard. We built out that team in creating that infrastructure, opened offices on 3 different continents, brought on some of the top executives from the gaming industry that many of which we would recognize their names, that are now also becoming very acclimated with the ETG business. So really it's brought us to this point for G2E where we're going to be launching several new products and really positioned to hopefully take the company to the next level in 2017.
And what is that next level as you look out over the next year or two?
You know, I think, you know, the more we learn about ETGs, which is fascinating, because it's a relatively unknown sector of the floor. Very little research had been done. We've started to do that the past 12 months. And we're finding that, you know, ETGs historically have been lumped in with slots.
Right.
And I think when you know, if you listen to Mr. Wynn's most recent earnings call that he had, he spent a good 10 minutes talking about the ETG segment of the floor and the importance of it. And you look at Caesars MGM, which are now breaking out ETGs into a separate reporting structure. We're finding that that's because the ETG seems to be a different demographic. And although it's attracting the millennials, we are seeing some of the existing players come over, such as slot players who have always wanted to try tables, been intimidated, coming over and trying those ETGs, but playing more often. Their average bets are higher, their handles higher. So this, you know, our industry, once, you know, 2, 3, 4 begin a momentum on the operator side, it's almost like a snowball effect. And where I see us contributing in 2017 is really supporting and supplying that momentum that we're starting to see from the operators. And that'll be comprised of more products, more innovation, and really helping accelerate that momentum in the industry whereby the ETG is evaluated outside of the slot sector. Comparing it to house average really doesn't make as much sense as I would have thought, because your house average, you know, in a slot machine can hold up to 10%, 9%, 8%. And traditionally, table games hold, in some cases, under 2%. You know, if you're talking about a traditional blackjack game or a baccarat game. So to compare the two, you're going to sometimes be at the bottom of the report on a slot matrix, but in actuality, that revenue is incremental and it's driving incremental EBITDA.
One of the reasons that electronic table games were included in slots is because they made appearances in markets where live table games were not allowed. They were slot machine only. Now that you have, even in those states, you have legislators and regulators talking about electronic table games as though they were a separate category. Do you see the regulatory environment and the tax regime changing in regards to ETGs?
Yeah, there are definitely some indications, such as Maryland, Pennsylvania, other jurisdictions, that there is a tax benefit by placing an electronic table game on your floor with a dealer of some type. We do see markets that, for various political reasons, they're wanting to protect the dealer aspect of table gaming, and they see ETGs possibly as impacting or affecting that. The good news about an ETG is that an ETG has the capability of having a dealer associated or being automated.
Right.
So the flexibility we offer, whether it be in Pennsylvania, Maryland, or other jurisdictions, by placing a dealer to obtain a lower tax rate, and these tax rate can be substantial. I mean, 56% versus 16% or 17%. We offer that. But I would say the majority of cases globally, the tax benefits are pretty much, whether it be a traditional table game or a slot game, very much according to normal gaming standards. There aren't so much carve-outs for ETGs, and I don't see that growing. I see really what I do see growing are the penetration of ETGs in the floor from pure financial driven aspects, meaning operators are starting to really dive into what is it about an ETG that is different, and why is an ETG driving incremental EBITDA to my floor? And the more we research and the more we learn, the more we're seeing that it is a new player, it is incremental, and because of that, we're seeing the penetration of ETGs on floors globally in the double digits. We'll be doing some press releases here at the show, and you know, it was unheard of to think of a single casino having more than, you know, maybe 20, 30 seats.
Right.
Whereas now we have dozens of casinos that are crossing the 100 mark. And that's not a monthly occurrence, it's becoming a weekly occurrence. So some exciting times.
Right. If you could look out in your crystal ball and see the casino industry 3 or 4 or 5 years from now, what's that gaming floor going to look like from an ETG perspective?
Well, I can share with you the data. Internationally, you know, ETGs are anywhere between 15 and 20% in many European and Asia Pacific markets. North America, we're still, in most cases, under 0.5% of a floor. And I think the major operators I've had conversations with, they're all, when we discuss 5% to 10% of the floor in North America being ETGs in the next 5 years or less, no one's blinking an eye. I think if you were to ask the major groups in both North and South America, who are a little bit behind from a percentage standpoint, I think they'd all say they could easily see 5 to 10% of their floor being an ETG type of product in the coming years.
So it's an enormous growth opportunity for you.
We hope so.
Yeah. Talk a little bit more about Interblock specifically. You know, it is a Slovenian company originally. As you've mentioned, you've diversified geographically with opening offices globally. What right now is your mix, or say your installed base, if that's the right term, internationally and in North America, and how do you see that evolving?
It was a challenge. I mean, one of the concerns I had joining 18 months ago was the concentration of the install base for Interblock. Since then, as you know, we've opened a new office here in Las Vegas. I've moved the majority of the corporate functions here to Las Vegas in North America. We maintained our manufacturing and R&D development centers in Slovenia. Amazing opportunity and country to do innovation at a very reasonable price. So we'll maintain that there. However, to your point, we really looked at diversifying both from a geographic and a product perspective the company. And this show is really a culmination of all that effort coming to a pinnacle right now. The past 2 months invested a tremendous amount of capital, opening up the infrastructure, offices, investing, doubling R&D in our products. And at the show, we'll be launching upwards of 12 or more new products, which will, for all intents and purposes, take the Interblock portfolio and triple it. And the reason for that is because we do want to begin to diversify the revenue streams, not only the geographic territories by which we derive our revenue, but the types of products we're garnering our money from. So,
you guys had a great booth last year. In fact, as I recall, my first word when we interviewed you on the gaming floor was, wow. Is it going to be as entertaining this year?
Well, we always try to raise the bar, and I'll let you decide, but I think we've put a lot of effort into the booth this year. Obviously, last year the primary focus was the Pulse Arena. We haven't done many press releases regarding that intentionally, but I can share with you that there are over 10 Pulse Arena deals that have been signed with some of the largest casino operators in the world. But both they and us have decided not to really tip our hand at this point. They want to be first to market and really surprise the industry. And I think we'll continue to push that Pulse Arena concept at the show this year. But on top of that, we've really created a booth where we're showing operators if they wanted to have 5 to 10% of their floor in ETG, we now have the product portfolio and depth and roadmap to sustain that. So you'll see sections of our booth that are designed to create sections of a casino floor.
So when we come to your booth, when anyone here at G2E visits the Interblock booth, what are the 1 or 2 things they absolutely must see?
Wow, you always throw tough questions at me. Well, I would say that, from an Interblock perspective, one of our differentiating factors is really the ability to create an electronic table game section or pit on the floor. And we've constructed our booth that way. So when you come into the booth, it's not so much about seeing a single individual product. It's about seeing a section of your floor. So when you think about your casino floor and you think about where you perhaps have a dead area or an area that's been challenging, or perhaps the bottom 5% of your slot mix that's making you $40, $50 a day when your house average is $200, and you want to find a way to remove that and put something in there to bring incremental dollars. In the Interblock booth, you will find product portfolios designed to address those areas. And the second thing that's quite exciting is we've been working, as you know, for almost 2 years on a bar top. No one's been able to challenge another supplier, I won't mention who, in that category. And we have been doing some field trials quite successfully. And the difference with our bar top is that we don't just offer poker. We've taken all of the best Interblock table games and put them onto a bar top device. So we have Baccarat, we have a multi-hand blackjack, we have a roulette, we have craps. And there seems to be a ton of interest from the industry on that type of product, because many jurisdictions in North America, poker is not popular. So the ability to have a suite of other table games in a bar environment and be able to then connect that bar top to an ETG on the floor and do a picture-in-picture capability so that you're actually playing off a product sitting on the casino floor at the bar, I think would be interesting for people to look at.
I think that is interesting, definitely. Huge potential, and to bring more life to a part of the casino as well. I guess if I were thinking about Interblock, and I think about companies that make electronic table games, when I look at most of the argument, most of the rationale for electronic table games, it tends to be a cost rationale. You don't have to pay a dealer to be standing there at 3 o'clock in the morning when there's nobody playing, but your machine can be there. But when I think of Interblock, I really think more in terms of entertainment. And it seems to me that's exactly what you've been describing here in terms of what we'll see at your booth this year.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges that operators are facing globally, the new players are walking past the casino floor to the pool, to the nightclubs, to the shops, to the restaurants, to the shows, and they're not stepping onto the casino environment very much. And when you do see them, you see them a lot of times at blackjack or table games. So we're very much focused on helping our customers and our partners bring those players back onto the casino floor, and then the existing players, such as slot players, bringing them over to the table games where before perhaps they were intimidated. And we're having some success in that, and I think that's one of our primary drivers right now is to really come up with a way to make the casino floor relevant 5-10 years from now to the next generation of players as well as the existing ones.
Great. We've covered a lot of ground in a very short period of time, John. Anything else you want folks to know about Interblock?
I think, I think one of the things that's most important about our company is that, we continue to innovate. We're putting a tremendous amount of our capital into R&D, into service, and I think at the show this year, hopefully it's a testament to those attributes where we're going to be able to show the casino industry that we are focused on finding new ways to drive players to the floor for the future, not only from the traditional standpoint of slots and tables, but that this ETG category, it very well could be a piece of what we've been looking for to sustain our industry in the years to come, and we're very focused on that, and we'll continue to be for the foreseeable future.
Okay, very interesting, John.
Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure.